Do you have Myles Garrett at all on this list?
Dude, Myles Garrett's not on the same level as either one of those players. Stop. Stop. That is such a BS.
That's on.
I hate
I
when the
watched
media
Miles.
does that
I watched
because
Myles
Myles Garrett
Garrett.
is not on TJ Watt's level and he's not on Micah Parsons level.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of Speak Now. Numero cuatro in a row. Am I correct on that, Jonathan?
You are correct. This is the fourth one in a row. We're doing
Month
well.
in a. We're doing very well. We got a schedule going. We're not great with schedules, but when we got one going, we operate quite well. We're a fine-tuned machine, and we're gonna keep it rolling here. Big week of sports last week. The Steelers couldn't quite win. But the Lions pulled out a great victory on Monday night. So I mean, you support the Lions a little bit, so it had to feel all right. But better week of picks from all of us. We'll get into that later. And the World Series. I mean, if we're talking, we might as well get right into that. I mean, to me, that game one of the World Series was one of the more electric. That's what the MLB postseason is all about. That was one of the better World Series games um, in recent memory for me. I mean, the Corey Seager home run where like right when he hit it, just the throw of the bat, reminiscent of Jose Bautista, my favorite postseason moment of all time. Um, and then the Adolis Garcia bomb to win it. I mean, hasn't been short of moments, but I mean, we're filming when the World Series is live right now, and the Rangers are looking quite formidable thus far.
Yeah, it's looking like the Rangers are probably going to take this one um in five. So, which is kind of depressing because like I really would have liked to see the series go seven. You got to think that Corey Seager wins the MVP. Like it can't even be a question. Like I feel like people would have had a discussion if Garcia was still in this, which I still think is wrong because Garcia has not nearly had the impact that Corey Seager has had. Corey Seager, Mr. October, man, he's the new Mr. October. I saw a graphic MLB posted on Instagram on their social medias. I think it was like yesterday or something like that, where he has played like the exact number of games that Reggie Jackson played. The postseason has like the exact number of RBIs and like one more home run or something like that. So Corey Seager is Mr. Clutch when it comes to playoff time. So yeah, he's got to win MVP. I think he's really like come up now twice with big home runs in this World Series. Yeah, I mean, congratulations to Texas if they end up winning this tonight. I guess like we won't get to maybe we'll get to talk about it while we're live on air. Well, live Zoom live, but
Should be
yeah,
able to.
yeah, good performance from Zach Gallen. Like that's what you want to see. Sucks that they couldn't get him run support while he was pitching a no hitter. That's really depressing for them. But like kudos to them. They had a great season and they're going to be competing in the NL West for years to come. It looks like. Yeah, I'm excited. I on Monday for the Lions, I had the World Series and the Lions split screen, so it was nice. Could go back and forth.
Yeah,
See, I
totally.
can't.
Yeah, totally. You
I,
got Eovaldi kind of grinding tonight. So yeah, Simeon, Seager, Garcia. I mean, they've all kind of had their moments, but yeah, Seager, no doubt, like you said, has had the big moments. And the Diamondbacks they had all their moments up until this series, but Texas has just been kind of too much, and it's just kind of holding true today. They've had nine base runners, the Diamondbacks, and still, just couldn't put anyone across the plate and kind of get those big hits. So kind of the same things, kind of like we talked about, kind of as predicted. I think the series is going. Even Garcia, when he went down, he got all the team together, said basically, you know, Dan Campbell quote, "I love you, man." So, kind kind of told the whole team that, and they went right back out there. And his replacement in the 9 hole, Jakowski, he had a nice game, for Garcia. So just kind of took the spot, and they dominated that game. So yeah.
I will say the split screen's pretty bold. I don't think I would particularly do that, but I think that I have a hard time focusing on one more than one thing at a time. That might be more me. Like they have like NFL Red Zone has like the quad box. That's tough for me to do. I'm not a I don't know, my attention span's lacking. That doesn't pertain to just sports too, obviously. It leaks out to other areas of my life, but sports particularly, when I got to focus on the Lions, they get all my focus.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh
luckily
yeah.
the games were like when they were entertaining, they were at like different portions basically, and the Lions game kind of became like towards the end there was not. I did not need to watch that, so I just turned it off. And the Texas game, Diamondbacks game ended first, so I mean,
Well, the yardage difference in that game was the second biggest difference, only behind the 70-20 Bronco or Dolphins Broncos game. They weren't that far behind either. It was the score didn't indicate how much of a blowout it was. I mean, they had the which Bleekman, whatever his name is, Blakeman, whatever his name is, the ref, absolute clown show. Every single Cleet Blakeman, I think that's his name. Every single time I see him reffing the Lions, he makes some boneheaded call. In that goal line fumble, you don't call a fumble. Like if you can't tell if it's a fumble, like I think you should rule it like not a fumble, and then if you see evidence to overturn it, you call it a fumble. But for some reason, Cleat wanted. I should rephrase that. Like he just ruled it a fumble, but like forward progress have been gone a while. Like if anything, it should go to review, in my opinion. Like I thought it was a boneheaded call, especially not overturning it. Like clearly forward progress was gone. He was down. That play bugged me, and that cost him 7 points there. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that, but
yeah, but I mean, part of it calling it a fumble isn't it so that it can be reviewed? Because otherwise, it's if it's called because the Steelers had something like that happen too, where they called it a fumble, and the way that they explained it was like that way it's reviewable versus if it's not, then now you have to use a whole challenge thing, and it's this whole extra process.
well, I just feel like the refs will like blow it dead so quick, but for some reason that play lasted so like they've all been big on forward progress, and then that play lasts so much longer. And it's like when the players run it back all the way into the end zone thinking they did something, and then Max Crosby put his hand up in the air and says he has the ball in a big pile, and then they're like, "Oh, he must have had a fumble." Like they couldn't see like that it was a clear fumble. I don't know. Like for me, that's I think it goes against how they ref games most of the time.
Yeah, there's video clips online that unless you think Craig Reynolds can levitate, he was definitely down there. So it's just odd that it wasn't overturned. I agree. I actually disagree that they're going to call it a fumble. That's what they call it on the field, so that way they can review it. So, but he was definitely down, 100%.
I mean, the refs just suck this year. Like
Yeah.
it's so
Bunch of
bad.
bozos.
Oh my gosh, that Jags game. Like I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know how mad I should be at the refs. I was pretty mad at them. I'm not gonna pull a Deontay Johnson over here and be like, man, they
Clown.
collapsed us. Like, dude, shut up. It's a field goal. Like you had so many opportunities. Um Honestly, actually not even Deontay's fault. It's mainly everyone else. Deontay had a fine game, minus like a slip, but the turf was terrible condition. But yeah, I don't know how you call a roughing on Trevor Lawrence, but not a roughing on Kenny Pickett. I'm just gonna say that, especially when Kenny Pickett gets injured on that play. That's pretty brutal. Or the whole fumbling out of bounds type of thing when they hit him. How that's not a unnecessary roughness call either.
Oh yeah.
That's BS. He's a quarterback, he's running out of bounds like that. You can't hit him.
You know the answer to that. I mean, it's Trevor Lawrence and it's Kenny Pickett.
Yeah,
So I mean,
exactly.
That's just all it
Yeah,
is.
I don't think either. I don't know. Like the Trevor Lawrence one was not a roughing the passer. Like he hit him like a millisecond after he threw it. Like obviously it's a little more than a millisecond. Like I would weigh towards like if I was looking at it, I don't know if I'd call either roughing the passer, but I think if there is anyone, if Trevor Lawrence, like you said, if Trevor Lawrence's was a roughing the passer, how is Kenny Pickett's not? So I think that's how like it's Trevor Lawrence, so he has more of the name. I think the Steelers they also just lost that game because like when you have a starting quarterback go down, that completely like kills your mojo if you had any. And like having Trubisky in, like you're not gonna Trubisky didn't win games with the Bears. He's not gonna win games with the Steelers. And he made some pretty boneheaded throws as you saw. I'm sure you're frustrated with some of his throws.
Oh yeah, you see the difference between him and Kenny and why Kenny is the starter versus him. Like you can have your gripes about Kenny, and obviously I do, but at least when it comes time to do a 2 minute drill, Kenny's ice in his veins. You know, he doesn't overthink it. He makes the play happen. It's like very fluid. Mitchell Trubisky just looked like he needed to, or he was trying to like make something out of nothing. Like especially the last interception's fine. Like that's end of the game, whatever. Hail Mary. Like you're just trying to do something, like hope for the best. But the first one where he tries to hit Allen Robinson like over the middle in triple coverage is just absolute bogus, dude. Like at that point, like it's like stuff like that where it's like if he ends up playing in this game tomorrow, and if he starts doing stuff like that, like I want Mason in. Like at least give someone else a chance because that's just that's dumb. Like that's bad. Like I don't know. It's not even like George Pickens. Like you're not even like trying to hit George and like put it up there for like one of the best playmakers in the NFL. You're just Allen Robinson, triple coverage. Like that's I don't know, dude. I don't know what he was thinking. Yeah, it was a brutal game. Again, the offense continues to waste a elite defense, and it's sad because you only have so many. We talked about this over text, but you only have so many more years where your window's open. Like your window's open now, whether or not your offense is there. Like your defense is there. Your defense is a championship caliber defense. Your offense just needs to manage the ball and put up like 20 points, which is a struggle. I get that, but
Or at least hold the ball a little longer
yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. Stop going 3-and-out and putting your defense out. I think the Steelers. I don't actually have the stats, but like they're if they're not first, they are very close to first in like the amount of time that their defense is on the field. Which
They are first, I think.
yeah, when you consider too the fact that they held Baltimore under 20. I know that the blowouts to the Texans and the 49ers were ugly, but like honestly, their other like the loss to Jacksonville and then even like their wins, like you look at that team and it's like, oh, this is a team that if it had an offense that could stay on the field, their defense would just be that much better. But alas, I really hope because hearing rumblings, which I'm not an insider, so I don't actually know anything, but hearing rumblings that Matt Canada might not actually be on the hot seat, and if that is true, oh boy, oh, it's going to be a long 2024, and I'm
You
not
might
looking forward to it.
you might not have a Super Bowl window for a couple of years if he stays. He's setting the back, honestly.
Well, yeah, dude, this is the crappy thing is you have TJ Watt, you have Cam Hayward, you have Minka Fitzpatrick. And like I'll throw Patrick Peterson in there. Patrick Peterson isn't like what he used to be by any means, but Patrick Peterson's a future Hall of Famer nonetheless, and he's on a 2-year deal. Like he's here to win a championship. You're doing him a disservice if you don't have a team ready. You know, like Pat P has earned that respect that you need to be putting up a championship caliber team. But really, you go back to the 3 core guys on defense. Like Cam's in his mid 30s, Minka's late 20s, TJ's like late 20s. So like the next couple of years, these guys are going to start hitting 30, and like I'm not convinced that Watt doesn't start hitting the injuries like his brother did. I get that they're not quite built the same, but I mean, TJ's already had some injuries. Minka with this hamstring, like the guys, they're going to get older. They're playing in cold weather. Like their bodies aren't going to hold up unless you're James Harrison. So I don't know. You have a window, and especially this year, which sucks because this year there's so much parity, and we'll talk about that like with takeaways from the season so far. It's like so much parity. Like anyone could win it. Like any of these competitor teams, like the 49ers, Eagles, Chiefs, like the Bills, like all these like front runner teams normally, or even like the Bengals, all look beatable. And the fact that you don't have a team that can beat them is sad. Like, and it's because of your quarterback and it's because of your offensive coordinator.
I mean, yeah, I feel your frustration. I mean, they're a tough team to watch. I mean, they have a lot of talent, but at the same time, there's clearly a dysfunction somewhere in within the organization, as in somewhere in the coaching staff. Obviously, Matt Canada's an issue, but there's just something not clicking. We'll see.
Yeah.
I don't see it fixing with Canada, but I mean, do you have any last comments on the Steelers here, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, they're averaging 13.9 points a game. I mean, that's not going to cut it. You're going to go play Kansas City, you're going to play Miami, you're going to play Cincinnati when they're ready to play playoff football. Sure, you could take the avenue of, tough AFC North team. We're going to hold them down, but I don't know, week to week, you might get by 1 or 2 weeks, possibly. But you're just not a Super Bowl team the way it's built right now. I don't think, unless something changes. I guess that's where I'm at on the Steelers. But yeah, like
Yeah,
you said, so many good players on defense, Hall of Famers. You are kind of wasting those years without having the coaching and another dynamic speed threat on offense. Whether it's a running back, wide receiver, whoever it is, someone to really complement Pickens. I don't think they have that other guy, to be honest, on that offense on top of the creative play calling. So I don't think it's a Kenny Pickett problem. I think there's a lot of other bigger problems.
yeah. I think we'll see throughout the rest of the year if they can get that fixed. Still plenty of ball left. We're in the mid-season. I
Oh yeah.
think that'll transition. Just a couple takeaways. I think maybe one, maybe two takeaways from each of us that we've kind of seen so far this year. You can obviously throw in a couple other ones, but I think each of us discuss one. And my big one, it's it's a big. This is what I've seen the last couple weeks. I just want to throw in a. I want to throw in a quick one here. The Broncos. That's my sleeper team on making the playoffs. I've liked what I've seen out of the Broncos. I just want to throw that one in on there. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but I actually really like how the Broncos have been playing. I don't know if you want to comment on that at all, but I've been quite positive. I think they're the second best team in that division, personally.
Yeah, I guess this takeaways for me is for I'll go to the NFC. We've spoken a little bit about the AFC already. There's just a big division between, I'd say, like the top five teams right now and the rest of that conference. I think we know who those teams are. You got San Francisco, Seattle, Dallas, Philadelphia, and Detroit. Week to week, you can put them in whatever order you want. But I think, we'll get into the trades later. But by who's making trades, who's giving away, that sort of thing, and just injuries and things like that, I think Minnesota was starting to come on. But the Kirk Cousins injury was big. I mean, Cousins was really playing well those last couple of weeks. Jordan Addison really stepping up, the running game getting a little bit better, the defense with Danielle Hunter getting 10 sacks. So they were really looking to give Detroit a run for their money, to be perfectly honest, for that division, because their schedule is very similar to Detroit's. We talked about how easy Detroit's schedule is. Same thing with the San Francisco Seattle division. San Francisco losing three straight, and Seattle is looking pretty strong as well. They got some good young players. They made the move for Leonard Williams, and like I said, we'll get into that. But I just see the top five in the NFC have really separated themselves in the first half of the season. As far as that Denver take, I don't disagree. Obviously, they didn't sell their team. So they're kind of turning Russell Wilson and almost into a game manager. They have some pieces on defense, and they might make a run at that 6 or 7 seed. It's possible, but you have Cleveland, you have Pittsburgh, you have the Chargers, you have a lot of teams that'll have a say in that. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Well, the tough thing with that, just to add real quick, I think the fact that Cleveland, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh, and all of them, they'll fight for those wild cards. They all have to play. Those three teams have to play each other twice, so they can take down another team potentially. I mean, that's always the thing with those divisions that with stacked teams. Generally, those division games will kill one or two of those teams.
Yep, very true.
Yeah, I think you have a dogfight in the AFC for sure on that side. Like to Steve's point, yeah, the NFC starting to separate itself a little bit. AFC, I don't know, man. It's wide open for me because you look at obviously you have the Chiefs, you have the Bills, you have the Dolphins that are probably like the top three teams. I mean, Houston's looked strong this year. I mean, Tennessee, who knows what they have in Will Levis? I guess we'll see for the rest of the year. Uh, AFC North, don't count out really any of the four teams in there. I mean, I know that they're going to be beating up on each other, but Bengals are on the rise. Ravens have continued to win. Steelers do good in their division, and the Browns, for some reason, like find ways to win games too. So I think that something that has stuck out to me this season is just how much of a dogfight the AFC is this year versus in previous years, where you really just had like the Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals to worry about with maybe the Ravens. But yeah, this year it just seems pretty wide open. Even like throughout Denver, maybe Chargers get hot. Who knows? It's like that. It seems pretty wide open for who is going to make it represent the AFC in the Super Bowl. Because I could see a team like Kansas City or even Buffalo losing in the first round of the playoffs, to somebody like Cleveland or Baltimore. Some maybe a defense shuts them down, and who knows? Or even like Miami. Like I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's a fun thing because I think also you have that with the top five teams in the NFC. I don't really see a clear team that's head and shoulders above the rest. I know you can make the arguments that the Eagles, they're a very complete team. But all it takes is one game, and I mean the Jets beat them. So I'm not convinced on any of the teams that they're like the head and shoulders strong team to win the Super Bowl this year, and I think that's fun.
Well, I think the cool thing about the AFC is that I personally think Jacksonville's going to end up with the one seed. I think with their division, we might see the Bills, the Ravens, the Chiefs, Bengals. We might see all of them playing on Wild Card Weekend, which is crazy. But I think with the Jags division, I think it's realistic they end up with the one seed. I think the Chiefs division's not great either. But I mean, they looked horrible. Mahomes had the flu, obviously, which supposedly we don't know where that was at. But Jacksonville at the one seed could make that first weekend of the playoffs. That could be the most fun football we've seen in years.
Oh yeah, they definitely could, especially if they start including Calvin Ridley more and Trevor Lawrence heats up even more. They have a tough schedule, I'd say, going forward. I mean, they play 49ers, again, who knows what the Titans have in Will Levis. If they have someone that looks even remotely close to what we saw last week, like that'll be a fight, and they have to play them twice. But who knows? We don't know what we have there. CJ Stroud's looked good. Like that could be a fight. The Texans won the first matchup. So and then they play Bengals, Cleveland, and Baltimore. Like those are going to be fights as well. They really could. Like I think that's the fun part about the AFC is I don't think I could sit here confidently and be like, this team's going to be the number one seed in the AFC here today. It's way too early.
Yeah, I think just this year there hasn't been the quarterbacks are just throwing a lot of picks this year, kind of across the middle. If you watch these games, like Mahomes, Goff threw that sideline pass the other day. If you go down the line, so these Hurts earlier in the year, he looked a little bit like a few times, and these quarterbacks aren't like dominating the games. It's just something's going on out there that's a little bit different. I think we talked about defense taking over some of these games, or the scoring not being as crazy. You're not watching that Sunday night game or that indoor game where it's like 38-35. I mean, we're not seeing much of that this year. It's it's 27-24, whatever it is. So I think that's kind of interesting. I know we're going to get into some of the MVP stuff later. So just something interesting I've noticed, and just running backs not staying healthy. It's just I know we all play fantasy football here. It's like who's playing running back from week to week. You just have no idea. And quarterbacks are almost going down to that same boat. We're seeing a Will Levis. We're seeing Clayton Tune for Arizona. You're seeing Dobbs go to another team. You're seeing the Rams lose a quarterback. I mean, it's just, you don't know from week to week on these teams. And it's just, survival kind of thing as we go through the season. So just interesting thing that I've noticed in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, I'm done drafting running backs in fantasy at this point. I mean, could have had Tyreek Hill on my team, and instead I'm stuck with Austin Eckler. So that's just fantastic. But I'll leave my fantasy frustrations out the door. I could rant about that for about 20 minutes. Any other last takeaways? I mean, like one thing I'd mention is I think Tyreek Hill is the best player in football right now. Watching him, that'd be my only thing. I think he's unstoppable. But any other quick midseason takeaways?
I mean, I'll definitely talk about Tyreek in our next segment.
Yeah,
So
same.
yeah,
Same.
we'll take a break, and then we'll be back with our MVP picks and some trade deadline reactions. Stay tuned. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 8 of Speak Now. We're back. We're going to be talking about the NFL, our NFL MVP candidates through the first 9 weeks. But before we do that, shout out Texas. They're that much closer to their first World Series after straining a guy on. It's 3 outs away. Let's see. It's not like they've choked 3 outs away before, so
Not at all.
1 strike away, actually. But yeah, MVP. So let's get into that. It's been an interesting year. We were starting to allude to that towards the end of the first part of the video. Steve talked about how a lot of the quarterbacks this year are throwing interceptions. Quarterback play has kind of been lackluster to a certain extent. At least I would say, compared to years past, that's the stance I would take. So yeah, let's get into MVPs. Is this a year where, for the first time since 2006, a non-QB wins the MVP? Steve, how about you start us off?
Yeah, I'll start us off. I do think a QB will still win it. I do think there's a clear cut 3 to 4 QBs ahead of the rest. I'll start out my list. I'm going to start out my list at number 5 with a non-QB. I think we brought his name up already. It would be none other than Tyreek Hill. He's over 1,000 yards. There was really no debate on the non-QB at this spot on who it would be. You got Christian McCaffrey, Travis Kelce, A.J. Brown. I don't really think there's any other guys you could mention. Maybe others come to mind, but Tyreek, no doubt. Just what he does, how electric he is, and how much of a difference he makes for that team and really throughout his career as a weapon. Number 4 on my list. He's had a couple slip-ups, but I think in general, signing the new contract, their team's 6-2. They've shown to be, but at least by the metrics, the most dominant team in the NFL so far. I know the Steelers did beat them, but I go with Lamar Jackson at number 4. Just his combination of running and passing, and I don't think their passing weapons have really been as good as they were advertised to be coming into the season, and he's still done really well. Number 3, Tyreek's sidekick. I'll go with Tua Tagovailoa. Just think that he's played really well. He's limited taking those hits. We saw what happened last year, and we saw what happened when his backups came in. Tyreek wasn't as good. I've got Tyreek at 5, but really it wasn't as good with Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson and those guys. So Tua kind of makes that ship run. I mean, you got other weapons on that offense too, and Tua's kind of taken it to the next level. And there's so much motion and speed in that offense, and I think he kind of stirs the drink and keeps that offense moving. Number 2, I got to go with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he has, besides Travis Kelce, it's just low budget kind of offense with all these guys, and he just kind of mixes and matches. I know they lost to the Broncos, but really before that they were very The Chiefs play a lot of close games, and Patrick just ends up pulling them out in the end. I mean, we saw it last playoffs. We've seen it throughout his career. Um, I think if Patrick Mahomes isn't in your top three, I'm not, without knowing your list, for me, he's got to be in the top three. So I just think he has to be. And number one, I got to go with the guy with the best record. You got an unstoppable play that they run. Um, he's playing hurt. You can just see him out there. I got to go with Jalen Hurts at number one. I think he's just kind of gotten better every year. And um, yeah, Jalen Hurts, he makes that team run. He's kind of the face of it. He's a cool customer. He doesn't let the emotions get the best of him. He knows the offense. He kind of takes on that personality, along with Nick Sirianni, kind of like you see some of these other quarterbacks and their coaches. They're just kind of lockstep together, the play caller and the coach. And he knows when certain guys need to get the ball, and he knows how to win, and he knows, like I said, he's just kept improving. And he kind of signed that contract. I know it's a big contract, but it's kind of spread out to be team friendly. So it gives him that two or 3 year window to really make a run at those Super Bowls. So I think they got to be one of the top 2 or 3 favorites in the NFL. And if you got a quarterback that puts up the numbers he does, he's going to be in my top 3 for MVP. So that's my list. How about you, Eli?
Wow. My list is drastically different. I thought maybe we'd have similar lists. It's not even close. I have, let's see, I have 3 different people on my list. I only have 2. I have the 2 Dolphins. Everybody else is off my list, actually. Number 5. The thing is, like we talked about it before. I think this list, I think 10 people. I think there's 10 different people that can be on the list. I think it's kind of tough. With the 5, I had a tough time putting number 5. So I have Jared Goff at 5. Is it really the right pick? No. A forewarning, I don't have Jalen Hurts or Patrick Mahomes on my list. That's debatable. But I really like what Jared Goff has done this year. Every quarterback has an interceptions. He's had 2 pick sixes. The one against Seattle really killed him. But he's top 5 in passing yards, and I think he really leads a top 5 offense in the NFL when they're fully healthy. So yeah, it's a homer pick, but it's my pick, and I'm sticking with it. Number 4, the stats don't blow me away, but this guy, there's something about him. He's not frustrating guy for my fantasy team, but I actually like Trevor Lawrence at 4. He might more fit into like most improved. I don't really know if he'd even be fitting into most improved, but I mean the team's 6-2. He's thrown for almost 2,000 yards, and he's been extremely, like, his rating is fantastic. And I think his stats are just fine. The touchdowns don't blow you away, but I don't think touchdowns should base the MVP rating. Personally, I think the Jags end up with one of the best records in the NFL, and I think he's a big reason for it. Obviously, ETN's having a great year, but I love Trevor Lawrence this year, so he's at 4. 3, I have Lamar. I think Lamar is having his best season of his career, especially passing wise. I loved how he had a stumble against the Steelers. Other than that game, he's completing 70% of his passes. I love what Lamar's doing. Even with his receiving core, especially in that Steelers game, they were atrocious. But I think he's been fantastic this year. He's not rushing as much. I think that's helped him out a lot. I think his pocket presence has been a lot better this year, and that's a credit to the Ravens offensive line as well. But I love what Lamar's doing. Number 2, I actually have Tua. I think Mike McDaniels has unlocked Tua's potential. But with Brian Flores, Tua wasn't bad. He was middle of the line. He produced well, but with Mike McDaniels, he's just flourishing. So credit to his offense, but credit to Tua. I mean, Stephen A. with his outlandish take saying Tua doesn't throw the ball deep. He just tosses it 5 yards to Tyreek. He is extremely accurate in those deep balls. With Tyreek Hill, you got to place it right. He's a you gotta place it in stride. That's not easy to do with Tyreek Hill. He's so fast. We never see Teddy Bridgewater connect because he doesn't have the arm strength, so he never connected in stride really with him. From the games I watched with Teddy last year. So I got two at two, and then number one, I actually have Tyreek Hill. I think if he keeps up what he's doing, I think it breaks. He's on historic pace, 16 yards to catch, over 1,000 yards in 8 games, the first time done in the Super Bowl era. I believe is the stat I saw. 382 yards after the catch is crazy, and 61 receptions. Wide receivers are less likely even to win it than running backs, but what he's doing is like he's unguardable. It's unbelievable. I mean, if you go against him in fantasy, just put 20 on the board automatically and hope he doesn't score 30 to 40. I mean, he's just that good. So I had a hard time not putting him at one. I guess obviously Tua has a big part of it, but when a guy's open all the time, you have a target so often. He's had like his one drop against the Eagles is the one big thing I'd say, oh, Tyreek messed up on this. But I have Tyreek at one.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, Tyreek's on my list too. So we all have Tyreek on our lists at some point. We'll get to where I have him. I'm in the same boat with you, Eli. I had a hard time picking number 5 because I just think I don't know. I don't really feel like there is like a 5. As much like it's like I don't have Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts on my list either. Jalen Hurts, only reason I don't have him on my list is just I'm going to penalize him just because the Eagles are such a complete team. Like I don't think he's like I know MVP is a little bit different in the NFL than it is in baseball, which is kind of where my mindset is like the MVP is like the guy that is like making it such a difference. Like he obviously makes a difference, but overall, like that team could win a Super Bowl with Nick Foles as the quarterback. Like obviously, I know they did that years ago, but like that's kind of where I'm standing at, where I'm sitting at. Thinking is like that's why I can't. I would feel weird putting Jalen Hurts there just because I don't think like he makes the team better, but I don't think he like like I don't think they would be like. I feel like they'd figure out ways to win without him, if that makes sense. Like I know that's a big take, but
They're built to win with Jalen Hurts is my tough thing. But I mean, he's a top 5 quarterback. We can't take that
but
away.
I mean, their team is just so well built, regardless. Is
The only games they lost last year were without Jalen Hurts. But yeah, anyway, proceed.
And then Patrick Mahomes just to me, I know he's dealing with the wide receiver core, whatever. Just not as impressed with Patrick this year, and he's won it a couple times. So I think that for like voters and stuff like that, like that's gonna kind of take him off the radar. He's kind of gotten his flowers. Similarly, Lamar, I know Lamar's having a great year. I feel like the Ravens add a few more losses, and by the end of the year, he's further down the list. So I'm not gonna touch him. I'm just gonna throw out. I'm gonna do what Eli did. I'm gonna do a little bit of a homer for my number 5 spot, but it's gonna be shared between 2 players. I'm gonna go T.J. Watt and Micah Parsons, just because those are 2 guys that on defense, like they transform the game. He like Micah Parsons. I know Eli's a Dak Prescott stan now, but Micah Parsons is by far their best player. And TJ Watt, like the record when he plays versus when he doesn't is just undeniable. He's kept the Steelers relevant this year, which they're barely relevant. Like I said, I don't really have a 5, so I'm just throwing them out there. Yeah.
One comment. Do you have Myles Garrett at all on this list?
Dude, Myles Garrett's not on the same level as either one of those players. Stop. That is such a BS.
That's on.
I hate.
I watched Myles. I watched
Myles Garrett is not on T.J. Watt's level, and he's not on Micah Parsons' level.
I watched him beat the Colts. He beat the Colts by himself, and you're telling me he's not on the level? His stats are identical to T.J. Watt's this year, and you put Micah Parsons and T.J. Watt, but not Myles Garrett.
Yeah, because Micah Parsons and T.J. Watt will cover. He doesn't cover. Like I'm sorry, he's not as good.
He doesn't do as much against the run. He's more of a disruptor. I mean, he doesn't have the complete game those guys do. I would
He
say, but
he
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 did
is
he
more.
disrupts at a rate higher than TJ Watt.
He
He does
does.
it
He
better.
does. I agree with that.
He disrupts better than anybody in the NFL. So he's more one dimensional. But when you're by far the best at what he I
He's not.
I
Miles
He's
wouldn't
Garrett's
say
the
not
I
best.
the
wouldn't I
TJ
wouldn't
Watt
say
is the
by
best
far.
defensive player
Not
in the
by far.
NFL. As his brother JJ said, like, stop making this argument. It's not close.
Well, of course JJ Watt's gonna say his brother's the best in the NFL. Give me Miles Garrett number one. You can proceed though.
That oh, that's so asinine. Stop. Myles Garrett's not the best defensive player in the league. All right, whatever. So I did nothing against the Steelers, right, with their crappy O line. Oof.
I think it's disrespectful, especially Micah Parsons over him too. I think that's a trio award at that point.
Micah hasn't proven anything yet. That he's not above TJ. Micah, not for sure. I don't think either one of them. I agree with Jonathan on that one.
All right.
I'm standing by it, but proceed.
Oh, we'll have to get into like a deep dive on a different episode because that's such a mainstream take. I feel like to say Myles Garrett is like on par with TJ Watt. It's just not. They're not. Like they're different. Like they're TJ's just better. He's head and shoulders better.
I mean, I think it's unfair to say it's a mainstream take. I don't listen to what Skip Bayless says to base my opinions off of it. What I've seen in games that I wouldn't like. I think it's extremely close. Like I think you could put either one at number one.
I don't think
I
it's
think
close at all. TJ does far more than uh freaking Myles Garrett does. It's just not, it's not.
just because he goes in coverage doesn't just necessarily make him better.
He does well in coverage. He's got like a 32%
No,
completion percentage this year.
yeah, he's good. I never said he wasn't good in coverage. I just think Myles Garrett's the best in the NFL. I mean, I think there's obviously like I'm not like obviously like TJ Watt, like he's up there with everybody, no matter if you're a Steelers fan, but you are a Steelers fan, so I think you'll lean, and he's on the Browns, but I mean, I think it's a lot closer than what you're saying.
I mean, he's been much better longer. Like this is like the first year I think where you can like maybe make an argument that they're on the same level, and you still can't because TJ just does so much more.
I think we're gonna keep disagreeing. You should probably just get to your list.
All right. Yeah. So TJ Watt, Micah Parsons at 5, not Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's not even close to be on this list. Yeah, number 4. I'm gonna put Tyreek Hill there. Um, he's to me he's has the best chance of a wide receiver winning this award since Cooper Kupp and Antonio Brown. Like Cooper Kupp had a phenomenal year, but I get it. Antonio Brown, trying to remember what year that was. I think it's 2015, if I'm not mistaken. 2017. Yeah, Antonio Brown 2017 led the league in receiving yards. Didn't even play like the full season. Like was on pace to break Calvin Johnson's record. Like that was a year where he was just taking over games. Oh, sorry, actually, it's that season. He was just taking over games, and like it looked like AB was gonna actually had a legit shot. I know there was chatter about him actually winning MVP that year. But I think what Tyreek does, he's so explosive as we've been talking about. The reason he's not higher is, to Steve's point, like there's so many weapons on this offense. Like this, it kind of takes away, I think, from a legit candidate from the Dolphins actually winning it. Number 3 on my list is Tua, just to get there because I have a hard time putting Tyreek over Tua just because Tua is ultimately the one that is getting the ball to Tyreek, to Jalen Waddle, to you name it. So that's kind of my 4 and 3. And unless there's like a big change in like the last several weeks, like I don't see them either one of them having a chance to win it, but they're I think both like up there for sure. Um, Number two on my list, who I actually think will actually probably might win it, like especially if they get hot late, and start just kicking butt, is Josh Allen. Josh Allen's had a really good year. Um, One thing I know Tom Brady is talking about him protecting himself more, and uh, one thing that he has done better. He still is aggressive runner, but he does go out of bounds more. He does take the slide a little bit more, and I think he's been able to stay healthier this year, and he's putting up numbers. And unlike Tua, he doesn't have like this necessarily high-powered offense. He's got Stephon Diggs, and then he makes a lot of guys look good. So, and I think it's kind of his turn. I know that shouldn't be a factor in the MVP discussion, but let's be honest, more often than not in sports, whether it's NFL, MLB, NBA, like that is actually like a legit thing that happens is they give people kind of their due. And I think it's kind of Josh Allen's time, especially if they end up, I know they're in second right now in their division. If they end up winning that division, I think it's Josh Allen. But he's my number two. Number one is Christian McCaffrey. He, to me, has been the MVP since he joined the 49ers. He makes them a Super Bowl team. I know that they've been struggling, but let's be honest here. Like I think they're going to right the ship. I know we're concerned about them. We talked about it last week. At the end of the day, like Christian McCaffrey has just been such a game changer for San Francisco, for Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan really uses him well. And he's just been so dominant this year. And if he stays healthy through the rest of the year, I think Christian McCaffrey has a legit chance to take home the MVP award if we're going non-quarterback, which I think we should this year. Be the first time since LaDainian Tomlinson took home the award in 2006, and I get that was a special year, but come on.
I don't mind the McCaffrey shout at all. I honestly, without McCaffrey, I don't know what their record would be personally. I mean, last year when they acquired McCaffrey, they were at 500, I believe it was. It might even been under. I do like the McCaffrey shout. That was one I'd considered but never really thought about. So I think you rebounded after that 5 pick.
Dude, I just threw out the 5 pick. I told you that, and you had to jump on it. I didn't jump on Jared Goff.
Yeah, I think you guys not picking Jalen Hurts on either of your lists. That's absolutely criminal. I can't think of anybody that would not put him in their top 5. That's like criminal.
You got 2 people right here.
Yeah.
I
think you have fatigue
criminal
from how good they are. To me, like that's how I feel. Like there's a fatigue there of like they're just such a great team that I'm like,
but
I don't know how to pick one.
Josh Allen falls apart in those games. I mean, he's lost many games at the end of the game. I mean, he's been mentioned. Miami hasn't beat a team with more than 2 wins this year. I mean, that's why I had him at 3 and 5. That's why I couldn't put him any higher than that. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I get the new guy take, but I agree with that, to be honest, because that does happen quite often. But man, some of those guys are just like, they're so much better than the other quarterbacks, just what they do for their team, just in my opinion.
I mean, I honestly think a quarterback shouldn't be in the discussion this year. That's just my take, but I don't think that's realistically going to happen.
Yeah, they just will be, though. But yeah. I get what you're saying. They're not playing as well this year, 100%.
But quick side shout out, Texas Rangers, first World Series championship in the bag. Congratulations, way to not choke it this year. What a series. Wish it would have gone 7.
Shout out Nathan Eovaldi too.
Yeah.
That's a dog. I'd put him second for the MVP voting. Honestly.
Nah. One good game I don't think qualifies that because he was a little rough in the opening game. He gave up several. That was a pretty back and forth game until
I thought he threw up a pretty nice gem.
They were down 5-3 in that first game.
Yeah,
they came back at the end, like we talked about. Yeah, I think he threw less than 4 innings in that first game.
I think I was looking at the playoff stats because I think
Oh,
him throughout the whole playoffs could be a potential
yeah,
playoffs.
that's true. Yep.
But
Yeah,
Seager should win both regardless. Which Simeon had the 2-run shot too, so Simeon popped off at the end. But
yeah,
it's Seager's award to lose.
yeah. I mean,
Worth the money.
yeah, Garcia postseason MVP to me, and then Seager is the World Series MVP. Garcia's the record for RBIs
Oh
in
yeah.
the season.
Yep.
I wouldn't be mad with either.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, I think we got to write the shit back to the NFL though.
yeah.
I think the trade deadline just happened. And I love the trade deadline. I think the NFL, personally, I think it might be better to move it back a week or two. I saw a couple things on that. I wouldn't mind that. We'd see more action. I'd say just because there's so many teams that are like right in the middle. Like we saw the Broncos not sell because they think they might contend. We saw that with a lot of teams. Um, I think that's why a lot of the teams wouldn't trade these big potential names on the board. Which that's just a random thing I saw. But also, I can't stand fans of teams during the trade deadline being so like thinking they need to do this and they need to do that, and not really thinking about how it can have future implications. Mostly talking about Lions fans for sure. Um, I think the complaining I heard about not getting Chase Young and or Montez Sweat, and then hours later hearing that Chase Young had issues within the organization, um, all that. Obviously, take it how you will. They just traded him, so obviously they're going to probably say something negative. Um, but I think one thing I'm just going to throw out one trade I like, and then I'll get Jonathan. I'll get your thoughts. My favorite trade was the Rasul Douglas trade. Kind of not talked about a ton, but that guy's been on the Packers he was on their practice squad. They flipped a third for him. I think it was the biggest win-win trade as well. Other than, I thought the Montez Sweat one could be a win-win, pending the contract extension. But the Bills lack corner depth with Tre'Davious White down for the year, and their benching of Kyer Elam. So they have a good slot corner. Dane Jackson, I believe his name is Dane Jackson or Johnson. But I thought that corner addition, he has double digit interceptions the past 3 years in the fourth quarter. So he's a clutch corner. So that was just my favorite addition. I thought that would help the team the most, especially contending. Like the Bears got Sweat, but like they gave up a second. They're not contending this year. But Jonathan, what did you see in the trade deadline? Just a big reaction from you.
I mean, I don't think you had any like really big winner from the trade deadline for the most part. I think some teams were. I think the biggest winners, in my opinion, were the teams that didn't make a move in terms of like Tennessee and Denver, like both teams that we expected to sell and have showed some promise lately. And I think like kudos to them for believing in their team and just kind of seeing what they got. I know like that can backfire like some of your guys maybe you don't end up getting anything for, but at least you're like giving it a shot. Um, Tennessee is obviously like trying to build something. Like they didn't have to trade D Hop. Like D Hop has a couple of years on his deal. So let him mesh with Will Levis, see what you have there. Um, yeah, what's up?
It's a 1 year deal from what I thought.
Is it? I thought it was a 2 year deal.
It could be 2 year, but I know it wouldn't be more than two from what I remember.
Yeah,
I
even if
thought it
it's
was
2 years, like give him a chance to mesh with.
I think it's similar to the Odell deal, from what I remember. I that's what I like. I think him and Henry are both expiring, but I'm not for sure on that.
There's a potential out in 2024, but he is technically under contract for the
Gotcha,
2024 season. Um,
gotcha.
yeah, Henry's expiring, but you have Ty Spears, which like he looks young and promising. Like obviously not going to say he's going to replace Henry, but again, you have a team that you can build for, and you can see what you have this year. And like their division's like not the toughest division. It's definitely if they get hot, they could end up in the playoffs. And with Denver, like you're kind of stuck with Russ at this point, so you might as well try to win with him. Um, so yeah, kudos to them. Um, Chase Young to San Francisco. I think that's a good fit for him. Um, I think that that's a good organization to end up in if there is issues with his character and all that kind of stuff. Like, I think honestly, I think Detroit would have been a good place because I think Detroit has the culture and has like the locker room to take that in and shape a guy. I know that was talked about with uh, Jalen Carter coming out of college, and it's like that's actually probably a good spot for him to land. But I get Dan Campbell and them not wanting to mess up their chemistry, and I think that's smart on them. To me, my favorite trade that was made in the deadline for the deadline was Donovan Peoples Jones. Like, I'm so excited to see him in the Honolulu Blue. Like, that guy is a dog. And I've had the privilege of like watching him since high school, so I feel like a little biased here. But like my senior year in 2015, we got to call his Cast Tech state championship game, do the radio play by play and color commentary, and that was just a lot of fun. I've had the privilege of following him uh, since uh, since then, and like seeing him go to Michigan, obviously get drafted. Like I think he was underutilized in Michigan. I think that this is a guy that would have ended up as a much higher draft pick if he would have been utilized at a different school. Um, but I mean, I get it, and I think he's been underutilized by the Browns. I think that this is a guy that has some real potential, and should provide at least some good depth for Detroit. And I'm excited just to watch him play for the hometown team. That's my favorite trade.
Yeah, no, I agree with both you guys. If the Lions are gonna sign somebody, they're gonna meet exactly what it says on my shirt. It's gonna be that grit, it's gonna embody their team, it's gonna be what Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes want. It's not gonna be a Chase Young, it's not gonna be a Montez Sweat. You know, Chase Young, they didn't even want to entertain picking up his 5th-year option. He had an ACL, he had a patellar tendon blowout. Honestly, the 49ers move, I think it reeks of desperation, and I think they're a little bit scared of the Seahawks, and what they're coming after them this year. So 3 straight losses. They're going in on Chase Young. I mean, they're trying to go all in. I mean, Chase Young, 14 sacks in 4 seasons, 31st ranked defense in the NFL by the Commanders. You can say it's secondary, but you got 4 high-priced defensive linemen. What are they doing for that defense? So, and obviously they're letting those guys go. So, you know, they're not going to pay them. They want to go in a different direction and build that defense a little bit differently. I did like the Eagles move to kind of replace the piece of Gardner Johnson from last year, Kevin Byard from the Titans. They did that a little bit earlier. Like you said, the Titans did hold on after that with a little bit of promise from Levis. So I did really like that move. I like the selfishly for the Lions. I like the pickup of the guard by Jacksonville to protect Trevor Lawrence. Ezra Cleveland from Minnesota. Thought that was a good pickup. And yeah, I don't mind the Montez Sweat. I just think, you know, they now have no leverage in the negotiations. You know, they gave up that 2nd-round pick. Basically, they're locked in to sign him to an extension, and he can pretty much write his own check at this point. So the Bears continue to bear. I mean, they've fired 2 different coaches in the last 2 or 3 weeks, and they just don't know how to run that team. And you know, they're right on par with the Cardinals and the Raiders, and you know, I can throw the Browns in there at some of the decisions they've made. I know they have a better team, but just that organization, just kind of one misstep after another. So those are kind of my thoughts on the deadline. I love the Lions trade as well. Donovan Peoples-Jones, everything's just good about it. Checks all the boxes for what we want. And like Dan Campbell said, they read off all the teams and what players they got, and his comment was good for them. So he doesn't really care what everybody else is doing. Him and Brad have a plan, and they're going to stick to it. And obviously, it's going pretty well so far. When they went 3-13-1 that season, that squad was probably not even hardly as good as the team that didn't win any games. And they worked till the end of every game, and you've just seen them improve by the year. So I love it.
Yeah, watching the Monday night game and seeing Brad Holmes celebrate in like the press box, I think gives you like that vibe of like this is a man that is confident with what he's building. Same thing with Dan Campbell. Like you hear the conviction in his words when he speaks to the players. The players buy into it, which I think is awesome. Like it's we're in arguably could be the golden era of Detroit Lions football, and I think that it's exciting. Like this is an identity that we can get behind for sure. I thought staying in division, I did want to say I thought one team that is kind of a loser and trade deadline, kind of confusing for me at least, was the Vikings. Like trading Ezra Cleveland, like you're selling, but then trading for Josh Dobbs, like you're trying to salvage your season. I thought that was big question marks. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. It kind of felt a little inconsistent for a team that really kind of needs all hands on deck if they want to make the playoffs.
Well,
I
he
think
was he was pretty well graded too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he was actually a pretty solid. Like Minnesota's O line has been really well graded this year, actually, which is in turn how Kirk Cousins has succeeded this year. But like they have Darisaw, and then that was baffling to me, especially since if they want to like that sets them back trading at guard. It's
yeah,
not easy to find good all linemen.
yeah, this quarterback must be really bad from BYU because the comment they made on Josh Dobbs is that he's waiting in the wings to play this week. I mean, I can't imagine. I think he played less than 10 snaps. He had a fumble, kind of. I think RG3 was trying to say that he was going to be really good, but I don't really take much stock in what RG3 has to say about analysis for football. So, um, you know, Jaron Hall, it's gonna be we'll get to the picks later and talk about it, but yeah, the Josh Dobbs pick tells you everything what they think about Jaron Hall and even Nick Mullins that's supposed to be ready to come back next week. So
Yeah, I mean, what I don't get though is again, yeah, trading the guard and then I don't know. To me, it's like just see what you have in the rookie quarterback. Like this season kind of is a wash. Like I don't think that they're going to be competitive with Josh Dobbs. Like
yeah,
he's
it's
not.
just weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's kind of weird. It's like I know we talked about it via text. It's like that those middling teams that kind of won't either like commit to like acquiring like a bunch of guys like the tools necessary to get over the hump, or the ones that won't sell it off and just rebuild. Like when you're in that middling ground of like mediocrity, it's kind of sucks more because you're going to be in there longer. Where it's like at least this year, like I know that they've been hot, but start losing games, maybe you have a shot at quarterback. Like you still very well could, right? But I mean, my guess is by the time the draft rolls around, we're going to be looking at Drake May, Caleb Williams, and Michael Penix as top 5 picks. So you're probably going to be SOL on one of those 3 guys, or insert some name here. I mean, that's kind of what we saw with. I mean, this time last year we weren't talking about Anthony Richardson as a top 5 pick, and then as the draft cycle rolled around, there he was, and sure enough, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for some reason though, it really took a big switch. I mean, for a while the Lions were considered incompetent, but now it's like I don't know what the Packers, the Bears, or the Vikings, their paths are all very cloudy. I mean, the Packers, supposedly a report came out that the Packers GM isn't sold on Jordan Love. Like he's already iffy on Jordan Love. And then the Vikings expiring contract with Kirk Cousins. I think they should re-sign him, but and then the Bears, this Ryan Poles guy. I mean, he's just handing out contracts, hoping they work, and that's what Bob Quinn did. And look where that has him, sitting on his couch. I mean, Trey Flowers isn't anywhere now. Jamie Collins, no good. I mean, his best linebacker signing was Devon Kennard. If that tells you anything, he was like their supposed like third best signing. But I think I think that'll probably wrap up free agency. And then next we have, I'd say my favorite segment. We got the weekly picks. We'll get you our record so far, and I tell you what, it really shifted. We got a lot closer of a battle. I was talking my talk, and my lead's gone. But we'll get into that after this break. All right, all. Welcome back from the small break, and now our final segment. We're getting back into our weekly picks. It was a big rebound week for Jonathan and Steve. 9-6 for Jonathan and I. Very acceptable records, I'd say. I mean, NFL is so hard to predict games. But 13-2 for Steve. I mean, clap it up for him. I mean, there's not much else you can do to. I mean, the best you can go is 15-0. So yeah, congrats on that. You take the lead overall, 17-10. I'm at 16-11. Jonathan at 12-15. All still really close. I mean, I think we're doing a pretty good job. I mean, it's the NFL. You never know what's going to happen. Some of these games where the teams have won, like when the Patriots beat the Bills, none of us even thought about that. Um, but I'd say we get right into them. I mean, we might as well. I mean, we're recording on a Wednesday. Are we going into the Thursday night game? With our prediction, we haven't done that yet, but especially since it's the Steelers, we all including that one.
Absolutely.
Sure. Yeah, I can get this out
Awesome.
before that game airs.
Yeah, awesome. I mean, then I think this first game's interesting too. I think it's a good one to do. Titans Steelers. This was probably one of my tougher ones to do. It's hard to tell with some of these games. We don't know who with injuries. We don't quite know yet who's playing. So that played a factor. But in this Titans Steelers games, I personally have the Titans. I think Will Levis, he's definitely going to face pressure this week. There's no doubt about that. That's what the Steelers bring. But I think the Steelers secondary has a lot of questions. I think Levis, I mean, if he keeps finding Hopkins and Westbrook Ikine, I think he'll have success. And the Steelers offense is still a mess. I think it will probably be a mess the rest of the year. So I have the Titans winning this one 24-16.
I actually got the Steelers in this one. I know Kenny Pickett's going to be playing, and I believe Cam Hayward's going to get activated for this game. So I got Steelers 21-17. I think they're going to disrupt Will Levis. I think he was able to bake a cake back there in the secondary against the Falcons. They have one of the least pressure rates in the NFL. He's able to throw 4 touchdowns to Hopkins. He's not going to have that playing in Pittsburgh on Thursday night on a short week. He'll get off that high very quickly. And the Steelers coming off that game last week, a little bit of a mess. I know Pickett's going to have to, protect himself out there. Obviously, he's a gamer to come back out there on a Thursday. And I think, Tennessee they did get rid of Byard in the secondary. So that'll help free things up a little bit for the Steelers. I think they'll get the running game going a little bit. And they still do miss Freiermuth, but I think they've Deontay back. He's getting stuff going with Pickett, especially. And I think Steelers 21-17.
Yeah, I think the biggest question coming into this game, obviously, is how the Steelers perform and respond without having Minka back there. I think that really hurts them. But I'm with you on this one, Steve. At the end of the day, there's a couple factors for me into why I'm picking the Steelers, not just being a fan of them, because the fan in me is actually saying, "Oh, they're probably going to blow this one, and we're going to be sitting at 4-4." But there's 2 factors for me. One is Steelers are pissed after last week to Jacksonville. You could just tell that they're frustrated, like they're fired up. Obviously Jacksonville like disrespecting the terrible towel, like coming in to their home turf and just kicking their teeth in. Steelers have a couple more games here at home for this home stretch, and I think they're gonna buckle up and they're gonna shore up some things and do enough to win this one. Will Levis, yeah, still unproven. Could very well end up torching this Steelers secondary, but with Alex Highsmith, TJ Watt, and just that D line just constantly creating pressure, I think he's going to throw a pick or two, and I think the Steelers defense wins them yet another one. I have them winning this one. We'll do 17-14. Oh, the second reason why I think they're going to win. Mike Tomlin owns rookie quarterbacks. That's another reason. I know that he lost to CJ Stroud pretty embarrassingly earlier this year, but let's not let that detract from history. The Steelers under Mike Tomlin have been historically good against rookie quarterbacks.
All right, I guess I'm alone in that one. I think that'll be a good game though, regardless. Then the first one, the Germany game, the Dolphins and Chiefs. There's a lot of good games this week. It was definitely a tough slate. But I actually do have the Dolphins getting their first win against a team with a winning record. Not sold on the Chiefs just because I think their offense lacks so much. Um, it lacks pieces. I would have liked them to make like a Donovan Peoples-Jones type move. Honestly, I think that would have helped them a little bit. Got a trouble with the drop season, and their defense was a little overperforming, I'd say. Um, at the start of the year, I don't know if they're playing near top five level. I wouldn't put them in it as a top five defense though. So I think the Chiefs will drop this one, drop two in a row. They always have a little rough stretch. Last year they were 500 after 6 games, I believe. So they always have a little rough patch, but um, good teams drop games, and I think the Dolphins will have a statement win here. It'll be a high scoring one. I'd give this one 31-27.
I'm going to go with the Chiefs. I don't think Miami is going to be smart enough to take the formula the Broncos took. I think Javonte Williams had 27 carries in that game. They controlled the clock, controlled the running game, didn't get cute in the passing game, and that's where KC kind of thrives on defense. They make they make plays, they get the turnovers, things like that. We talked about the MVP picks. I still think Patrick Mahomes is going to come out on top. I think it's going to be a big atmosphere. The Chiefs are going to flex their muscles over, and get a rebound over in Germany. I've got Chiefs 31-27.
Yeah. This is a toughie because I really want to buy into the Dolphins. I think I've kind of picked them quite a bit. But something just tells me what this is kind of reminding me of is when Tom Brady went in, introduced himself to Germany, and just had a stellar game for the Bucks. I think Patrick Mahomes does a similar thing here as the current go of quarterbacks that are active in the league. I think Patrick Mahomes has a really stellar game in Germany, and I think Miami's struggles against teams that are over 500 continue here. I hope Miami puts up a fight. I like to see them win. I just don't think that they will. I have the Chiefs winning this one. We'll do 30-20.
All right, the next kind of a weird game as well. Two new quarterbacks starting this week for both teams. We got the Falcons and Vikings. I believe Jaron Hall was announced as the starter for the Vikings, and then Taylor Heineke for the Falcons. I actually really like Taylor Heineke. Obviously, he's not like an upper echelon quarterback by any means. But I like what he's done when he has started. And I think the Falcons offense, I think it will have less turnovers. I think that was Ritter's biggest issue. It wasn't that he could get enough points to win. So I like the Falcons here 20-10, really low scoring. I don't think either team's going to blow them out of the water.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Heineke was really good at getting the ball to the running backs and getting to his number one wide receiver option, which will kind of go with Drake London and getting it to Bijan and whatnot. Mentioned the Jaron Hall start earlier and getting rid of an offensive lineman. I'm going to go Falcons 24-13.
I have the Falcons as well. I think Taylor Heineke is definitely an upgrade over Ritter, and the Falcons they're in it for the NFC South, so they're definitely playing. I know the Vikings are still technically in it, but I mean, I think the Falcons have a more realistic shot at the playoffs, more realistic path at least. Yeah, until Jaron Hall does something where we stand up and take notice, there's no reason to believe that he's going to have success against this Falcons team. So I have the Falcons winning this one, 21-13.
And then next we have a interesting matchup. We got the Browns and the Cardinals. The Browns still starting PJ Walker. He's 2-1. He's not particularly, he hasn't played particularly great. They've kind of ran like their run game is really held together. The passing game struggled mightily. But I still like the Browns. I think their defense will just overwhelm Clayton Tune. That's what it's thought. what sounds like the starting quarterback will be. Gannon said that Tune should start unless Kyler shows signs of being fully healthy. So I like the Browns. I think they'll just overwhelm the Cardinals a bit too much. I have the Browns winning this game 28-13.
I actually think this game's going to be quite a bit closer. The Cardinals seem to have a way of keeping that score close. They, even though it wasn't really that close of a game, they kept within a touchdown of the Ravens. Some other weeks they've also kind of covered the spread, I guess. I know Clayton Tune did put up some nice numbers in the preseason. He has more of a pocket presence than a guy like Jaron Hall or some of the other I guess mid-round quarterbacks that were taken this year. So I think he could potentially earn himself another start or two, depending on how he plays on Sunday. So I do agree, though. I think in the end, I think Cleveland's defense is going to make enough plays, and Walker will play just smart enough to give Cleveland the win, 2017.
Yeah, this is a hard one because I mean, yeah, Clayton Tune could really pop off. I don't know. I feel like the Browns have gotten really lucky with PJ Walker as their quarterback. I believe his touchdown to interception ratio is like 1-5 or something like that. Since being like a starter, it's like I don't. To me, it's like some point like that's got to come back to like really bite them in the butt. I don't know if it actually happens this week though. To Steve's point, the Cardinals have just found a way to keep things close. I know they had the upset over Dallas earlier this year. So like really anything's possible. Cleveland's defense has been really good all year. So this is a hard matchup for me. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Browns. As much as I hate to say that, but I think they do win. I think they win 24-18.
And then next, one to gauge. Obviously, we're filming this right now. The Rams Packers. Stafford day to day. I'm not for sure if there's any new reports. I haven't seen any. Obviously, still really early in the practice week. But for now, I like the Rams. I think the Packers just have looked dysfunctional. Obviously, they sold at the deadline. Their offense is almost as dysfunctional as the Steelers. These past couple of weeks, I think Love and his receivers aren't on the same page, and they just, other than Watson, even Watson's not great this year, but they're not. They have struggled mightily. And I think the Rams, their offense will do just enough, and their defense will get some pressure on a struggling Packers offensive line. I'll take the Rams here, 24-21.
I'm going to go with the Packers. Brett Rippon, I believe, is going to be starting more than likely. You got the Rams going into a bye week. You got a UCL injury on that thumb for Matt Stafford. Rippon, I believe, has like 3 touchdowns and 8 interceptions in the NFL. He was absolutely pitiful for the Broncos. Looked really bad in relief for Stafford last week. I think with Rashawn Gary and some of the other guys on the Packers defense that he's really gonna struggle. He was, looking at the reads really late when trying to get the ball to Nakua and Cup, and he barely got them any catches after he came in the game. It was, really pitiful. I think Jordan Love makes just enough connections. Obviously, he's not playing well either. They're questioning his future, but I'm still going to go Packers 17-9.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a really poor game to watch. A lot of crap football. Yeah, I'm going to go Packers just because I think Jordan Love, even though he hasn't been impressive, has a better track record. If Stafford plays, I would pick the Rams, but I just don't know at this point. So with him being day to day, I'm going to go Packers, and I'm going to go. I'll go 21-12 on this one.
All right. Next, we have another not great game. We have the Commanders and Patriots. Commanders didn't look bad last week. Their defense keeps getting gashed, though. They just traded away pretty much their only edge rushers. They have Jonathan Allen and their D tackle is past my mind. But
Payne.
and the Patriot. Oh, Deron Payne. There it is. Um, Commanders have looked well. Howell hasn't looked bad, but his pocket presence is pretty bad, which he's taken a lot of sacks because of that. Uh, I like the Patriots in this game. Patriots have shown flashes. They just lost Kendrick Bourne for the year. But I see the Commanders losing this and firing Ron Rivera. I think this would be the week to do it. And if they don't do it after this week, they'll probably just do it after the season. But I'll pick the Patriots here. I'll take them 21-18.
I agree with basically all those points. I'm going to go Patriots 23-17. I agree with everything Eli said on that. Patriots 23-17.
I am also in agreement. I'm going to go 21-14 Patriots.
All right, another interesting game. We got the Bears Saints. Honestly, I found this one to be the easiest one of the slate for me. Tyson Bagent's still starting. Showing flashes, but not consistent enough, and he's against a really good Saints defense. The Saints are starting to come along. I think they're the best team in that division, in that NFC South division. So I just have the Saints handling the Bears 28-10.
Yeah, the Chargers walked up and down the field against the Bears. Saints have just as many weapons. Carr, I think we talked about it last week, was going to have a rebound, and he did. Kamara's doing well. He's got plenty of weapons there. They're 4-4, so there is some dysfunction there, but the Bears have way more dysfunction. So for all the points you said, the defense playing at home, Saints 31-13.
Yeah, I have the Saints winning this one as well. Yeah, Kamara just continues to tear it up. 31-17.
And then next we have probably the best game of the 1 o'clock slate: Seahawks Ravens. This one's tough. On ESPN, it has 85% of people picking the Ravens, which I thought was a bit much. I actually do have the Seahawks. Their defense, I was reading, their defense is vastly underrated this year. Their defense has played pretty well. They just got Leonard Williams, bit of an overpay. But Leonard Williams, nonetheless, they have Boy Mafe and Jaron Reed on the defense, star linebackers, and a really good cornerback core. I have the Seahawks winning this one 31-28. A little high scoring. I think it'll end up becoming slightly a shootout. Even though both defenses have been elite this year. But I have the Ravens dropping the first one in a couple weeks. I like the Seahawks.
If it was in Seattle, I think I would definitely take Seattle. I think just for the fact that Seattle's coming East Coast, I'm gonna have to go Baltimore. Leonard Williams pickup was a little bit curious. I think it was a kind of tit for tat with some of the teams in the NFC. I feel like Seattle needed edge a little bit more, and then they went inside. So, but to your point, they still do have a good defense, a lot of weapons there, and similarly, quite a few weapons on offense. But I think Baltimore with their defense and obviously what Lamar and everything has given them on offense this year, I'm going to go Baltimore 21-17.
Yeah, I'm probably in the few minority that doesn't think that Baltimore's as good as their record shows, or thinks that they're worse than their record shows. Just certain games that have just been close that probably shouldn't have been. And I think the Seahawks are coming along. Their defense has really been stepping it up as of late. I know Witherspoon's been narrowing the odds for defensive rookie of the year between him and Jalen Carter. So I think that this is a game where the Seahawks come in and they have a statement win, and they they're in first place, and it's in their division. It's theirs to lose. If 49ers get hot, they could be in trouble, and they want to hold on to that. So I think Pete Carroll has his team playing pretty well right now. I have them winning a really close one, 27-24.
Then next, the last of the 1 o'clock slate, we have the Bucks and the Texans. Another weird one. Both teams middle of the pack. They're going to end up with a pick in the teens, most likely. Neither going to compete for a playoff spot. The Bucks might slide into the last wild card or winning the NFC South, but I see them as the third best team in the division. I actually like the Texans rebounding. Stroud looked a little lackluster after the bye week. I think he picks it up. It is a tough. The Bucks do have a nice defense. I think Stroud has a decent game. He'll have to pass a lot. Pierce and Singletary have been pretty bad. But I like the Texans here. I'll take them 20-17.
I agree with that pick. I feel like the Bucks, they got Baker. He's kind of a 1 or 2 nil quarterback, and the more you see that every week with the weapons he has, I think they've been kind of getting a little bit worse every week. And Houston has some young talent on that team. Through the draft, obviously Will Anderson was a big piece. And I do think being at home is a factor here as well. I'm going to go Texans 21-16.
Yeah, this was hard for me too. These are both teams where they win a few games, they could sneak in. Um, Texans are 2-1 at home this year, and the Bucks just so happen to be 2-1 away. Even though the Bucks have lost 3 straight, the last 2 have been close. I'm going to say that Baker Mayfield and company, I think he's starting to get more of a rhythm with Chris Godwin. I think that's going to help them. I think this is going to be a low scoring affair, but they end up squeaking by. It's going to be 2018 Bucks.
Then next, first of the 4 o'clock slate, Colts Panthers. I didn't think about this one much. I think the Colts will finally get a win. They've had a couple of losses, but competitive losses nonetheless. Minshew hasn't been playing bad. He's got plenty of weapons. Minshew's always been one of the premier backups. And the Colts have enough pieces where the Panthers are destined to be a bottom 3 team, yet not have their first round pick. But I like the Colts here. I'd give it to them 23-17.
Yeah, something in me wants to pick the Panthers in this game, just with some momentum that they have, and the Colts just seem to want to give it away. Play just well enough, kind of like was it 38-0 or 35-0 against the Vikings last year? They seem to be doing similar things this year. But saying all that, I'm still going to take the Colts. I feel like too much talent. They got Taylor and Moss. They got Pittman and Downs. A lot of weapons for Minshew. So Colts 31-21.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Colts here too. Yeah, Minshew hasn't been playing awful, and I think Pittman is starting to really heat up. Zach Moss has just been unbelievable this year, and I think it's only a matter of time before you have a monster game from Jonathan Taylor. So yeah, I have the Colts winning this one, 28-17.
And the next game here, give it an award for the worst game of the week. We have the Giants and the Raiders. I believe Daniel Jones is supposed to come back. If not, I believe it's Danny or the DeVito guy, who the Giants as a team had negative passing yards last week. Then going against the Raiders, who supposedly are benching Jimmy Garoppolo this week in favor of Aiden O'Connell. Rumors of them even potentially releasing Garoppolo, but those are just swirlings. I picked the Giants just because their defense has been a lot more competent recently. Their defense kept them in that game last week, and their offense rewarded them with under 200 total yard or around 200 total yards. But I think the Giants win this one. I just think the Raiders, Aiden O'Connell showed flashes in the preseason, but their defense, as we saw last week, other than Crosby, don't really have anyone. And then I'm not sold. I like the Giants here. I'm going 3-6. I'd have them winning this 13-7.
Yeah, this is definitely a game I won't be tuning into. I might turn off that screen if I put the 4 screens up on my TV. But saying all that, I really want to pick the Raiders. I don't know if you guys listened to that speech of Antonio Pierce today, but I caught a little clip of that. So it's one of those fiery kind of guys, but I don't think that's enough. They had some guys on defense kind of dropping like flies. I do think Crosby might send Daniel Jones into next week if he goes for one of those runs, kind of like he did to Jamison Williams the one time there. But saying all that, I agree. I think Barkley's going to pretty much have to win this game for the Giants. If he has any issues or gets any injuries during the game, the Raiders could definitely win it. But I'm going to go Giants 16-13.
I'll differ here. I'll go Raiders at home. Yeah, I think Max Crosby has a killer game. I think Josh Jacobs, and even though it's O'Connell throwing, I think he can get Devontae Adams involved just enough to win this one. I have the Raiders winning this one, 20-14.
Then next, probably the best of the 4 o'clock slate, we have the Cowboys Eagles. Interesting one. The Cowboys had the Eagles numbers last year. Granted, Hurts was out for one of those games, but I like the Eagles winning this game. I think Hurts the last couple weeks he's started his ball security has been better. He had his fumble against the Commanders in the brotherly shove, which was the first, but I think he played well when his defense was struggling a little bit, which we're not used to seeing a ton out of the Eagles defense. And I think my boy Dak might not have the greatest of games, especially if Jalen Carter plays. I think this will be a high scoring game, and I think it will be close. I'd have the Eagles just winning it though, 31-28. I think Jake Elliott will win it in the last minute field goal.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you're going to see the meme where Peter Griffin's holding up the menu, kind of like Mike McCarthy on the sideline. So I just it's just one of those games where he's going to look confused. The Eagles are going to throw everything at him. Every time everybody wants to put Dallas in the Super Bowl, they kind of remind us why they're not successful in those big games and in the playoffs. So I actually think Philly's going to run away with it. I think it's going to be Philly 31-17.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the exact same score, Steve. Eagles undefeated at home, and the Cowboys are 500 away. Cowboys have had some pretty convincing wins, but they've also had some really questionable games where it's like, who are they? And I think, the Eagles, this being a big division game, because this could tie up, or not tie up, but this could bring them a lot closer in the division. And I think Eagles want to separate here. They're at home. I like that. Yeah, 31-17, same score.
Then next we have a really good Sunday night game. Actually, we have the Bills and Bengals. This was actually I really didn't have a tough time picking this one. I picked the Bengals pretty easily. I think they have been playing like a top 5 team recently. Joe Burrow's finally fully healthy. I think we saw that last week in a dominant effort. And I think they continue that. I think the Bills had some struggles. They've decided to play really well and really poor every other week, it seems. But I think Joe Burrow continues his ascension this year in play. And I think it'll be a relatively high scoring game. I'd have the Bengals winning this 34 to 28.
Yeah, the Bills don't seem to have quite what they've had in the last couple of years on defense. I know Tre'Davious White's down. I know you got Von Miller, another year older. Some guys they've lost on that defensive line and even in the linebacking core.
Matt Milano.
Yeah, they just don't seem as good there. And they're put everything on Josh Allen's shoulders, and he comes through quite a bit, but like you said, it's kind of up and down, and they just put a lot on his plate, and it's pretty much him and Stephon Diggs. And the running game obviously kind of pathetic. I know they get a decent yards per carry, but they don't seem to protect Josh Allen. It's just kind of a weird offense. It's kind of very predictable, and bad things happen from time to time. They even brought in or signed Leonard Fournette to the practice squad. So obviously they're looking for something there to help that, pass pro and maybe get something out of the backfield. To all the points you said on Burrow improving, it's the same as last year. They started out slow and then they got hot. So it looks like same things going. They have a pretty complete team, a lot of weapons on defense, and you know what they're about on offense. So I'm gonna go Bengals 34-28.
Yeah, I feel like I should pick the Bengals here just because Bills haven't been the greatest away, and they're 2-2 in the last 4 games. And to your point, Eli, like the Bengals are ascending. I think Josh Allen's getting some more help. Dalton Kincaid starting to really come along. Stephon Diggs, they really need a statement win here. A loss here and Jets win on Monday night, and next thing you know, like uh, they're looking at being third place in the division, and so they have a lot to play for in this game, more so than uh, any other weeks. I think Josh Allen gets one of those statement wins here and beats the Bengals in a very close game. I have this one being 31 or 34-31.
And the last game, which I will say, I love how you shout out all your fantasy players too.
He's
Don
been
Kincaid and
ascending. Like,
Kamara. No, 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 no. No, I mean your players are popping off. I love the subtle shout outs though. But the Monday night game, Chargers and Jets. This was an interesting one. Jets defense has been really good, which we saw last year. They're carrying over top unit. One of the premier defensive units in the NFL, but their offense is abysmal with Zach Wilson. He flashes here and there. Without Aaron Rodgers, I don't think they have a shot in this game. I think the Chargers, their defense looked better last week. I think a pick me up game against a bad team can help the defense. Um, and I like what Herbert did last week. I thought he played with a lot more poise than I saw in other games, like the Chiefs game. And that finger should be fully healed, if not close. I like the Chargers here, winning 28-13.
Yeah, I agree. For all those reasons, I think they're getting Gerald Everett back. He's using Quentin Johnston a little bit more last week, building that connection with him. I think they'll move Keenan Allen around enough to get him the ball the way they need to, and Austin Eckler another week back. I know the Jets have a really good defense, but the Chargers can throw a lot at you. And I think since they got rid of J.C. Jackson, they've been improving on defense the last couple of weeks as well. That Cowboys game could have possibly went their way, which is the story of the Chargers, right? Brandon Staley and his decisions and the way they like to blow games, but they actually played a really good game. Dak played phenomenal to kind of get the Cowboys to be able to win that game. So I'm going to go Chargers 2016.
I'm going to go Jets here. Jets have been very competitive in these big games all year round, all year long without Aaron Rodgers. Beat the Bills week one, easily, like really could have beat the Chiefs. That was really close. And they beat the Eagles. So this is a Jets team that really has no business being as competitive as they are without Aaron Rodgers, and yet here they are. So just credit the coaching staff, credit the players for just showing up in big games. And this is a primetime game, and I feel like the Jets at home are gonna continue to have primetime moments. I have them winning this one 21-17.
Yeah, I mean, with those big week of games, I love some of the games that we have. I think it'll be a great week of football. Without the Lions playing, obviously with the Steelers playing Thursday, I think we can really enjoy these games. I think these big games, with being all day, I think I'll see myself being on the couch all Sunday. But with that, that will conclude our week number 4 in a row. Doing a great job, and thank you for all that are tuning in. We'll see. Wonderful week of sports. No more baseball, but plenty of other sports left. And any last closing words?
Yeah, no, just a great week. Looking forward to having hopefully the Seahawks can go down and we can start kind of watching the ladder, and hopefully the Lions can keep it going after the bye week.
Yeah, I want to shout out Corey Seager becoming the 4th player in MLB history to win multiple World Series MVP awards. That's no small feat, and to do it with 2 different teams is pretty cool. He talked about it earlier in the show, but yeah, he is proven to be clutch in multiple World Series now. I think the question going into next year for baseball, this offseason, Diamondbacks. A lot of people assume that they're going to be back and like they'll have their time. I'm not convinced because I think we've seen this before where you've had teams with young talent um, make it to a World Series and then not make it back. I mean, '07 Rockies, 2016 Indians slash Guardians. I think that's some of my concern is, are they going to be like the National League Astros with this core group, or is this going to be something that falls apart in a tough division? Are they going to be able to make it back? Or are the answer backs done? But yeah,
For sure.
something to look forward to.
Yeah, we'll be looking into that. And with that, that will conclude our episode this week. We'll see you next week. And as always, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Peace.
I don't know what you told, I'm gonna make you fall. Yeah, break the mold. How can you not be so? Yeah, bring the hours in, pushing the pen to the pad, bring that 10 to the 10, blowing out the 616. This is it. Yeah, did it again.